rely on your own abilities to kind of like self-market, self-promote. Anything that you can take off of your plate and put onto somebody else that you absolutely do not like doing, you should 100% pass that over to a virtual assistant every single time.
Hello, everyone. I'm Avery here. I am the marketing manager at ProLine, and I'm here with John Starry with Steadfast Roofing. Hello, how are you doing today?
I am wonderful. I am back from a week-long vacation in Mexico.
Oh, wow, that sounds nice.
Yeah, now I gotta deal with this stuff again.
Yeah, well, this may not be vacation in Mexico, but we'll keep this episode short and sweet and just get some good info. And then anyone who is watching, please feel free to submit a question throughout the episode, and we will answer it in live time. So, on this episode, we're going to be kind of running through what it means to run a roofing business and just getting your input on that. So, we're going to start off here. What are the essential insurance policies for a new roofing company?
Oh boy. I guess it depends state to state, but I know that here in Florida, I mean, we are required, aside from being licensed, I mean, we do need to carry general liability and workers' comp insurance. I can't really tell you offhand like what the limits are or anything like that, but only reason being is like we exceed what the minimums and things are. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm pretty certain that any state should be requiring general liability and workers' comp insurance. But I think some contractors like Scott who, do subcontract a lot of their work and things, like their crews are then required to carry a workers' comp policy. So, but we do all that and we carry all that in house. So
Gotcha. Okay, well, cool. What are some best practices for creating a roofing business plan, in your opinion?
best practices for creating a roofing business plan.
Yeah, how would you approach that?
Are we talking about in regard to like which aspect? Like the getting business side, the production side, like
Well, I would say
all of it?
since it's just you and I, yeah, well, just like all of it, start to finish. How would you approach that?
Well, I'll tell you what, Avery, I'm gonna throw it back at you. We're gonna have some fun today.
Okay.
What would you do?
My what I would do best practices for creating a roofing business plan. Well, I would start off making sure you know your goals and making
Okay.
sure that they're realistic, And when you're starting from the ground up, you want that brand awareness, you want to build your team. That's what I would
Mhm.
say.
So I'll just talk about how I kind of started. And I mean, I guess that's the best way for me to really answer it.
Yeah.
I was owner operator. So like I did everything. I wore every hat and I was pretty hesitant or reluctant to kind of hand off any of those responsibilities. But then I just got to a point where, there's no way that I could have carried wearing all the hats and things. So one gentleman that kind of came on board with me from day one, he's been doing sales with me since I started. He's still with me to this day. I brought the very first hire that I had was an office manager just because like I had to take myself away from taking inbound company calls and focus more on the task in front of me and things. And then after I got back, then I went in and you know, pulled permits and ordered materials and all that fun stuff. But the next hire that I made though was actually a production manager. And I'll tell you what, like if you guys are running without one, you guys should definitely make a plan for 2026 to actually make that, one of, if not the first hire that you make. Um, Reason being is, I mean, if you were at IRE, Avery, I mean, you probably met my site operations manager, Franklin. Like, so essentially, I mean, he makes sure that the crews have everything they need to kind of complete the job on the time frame, like within the time frame that we actually had allotted for. He makes sure that the crews have everything they need to kind of complete that job as it's supposed to go. Make sure that signage is up and present. We have yard flags, we have yard signs, all those things. But then just being able to mingle and talk to the neighbors and have that in between like the salesperson and the actual customer and the office and things, like just giving them that additional contact point has proven to be like so invaluable. But
For sure.
so start a business right now. I would just say like don't hire too fast, because if you bring on too many people at once and you don't have the work to kind of support it, number one, you're going to be throwing money away. And number two, I mean, you're messing with people's livelihoods at that point, you know? I'd never liked the idea of not being able to support somebody long term in the role that they were hired for. So I don't rush into hiring. I'll say that. The other thing I would say though is like don't drop a bunch of money on marketing right away. I mean, rely on your network, you know, rely on
I'm
your
sure it can be
own
tempting.
abilities to, yeah, rely on your own abilities to kind of like self market, self promote. There's a lot of Facebook groups out there that you can kind of embed yourself in and kind of introduce yourself to. Everybody knows a realtor. Everybody drives past insurance offices and things. Stop in, make an introduction to those brokerages, whether it be insurance or real estate. Get involved in networking groups. A lot of those things don't cost any money. So get your name out there, take a real grassroots approach to it. And, you know, as business starts piling up, then look into spending money on marketing. But, you know, first and foremost, though, like you don't need a big fancy and I know that we're on like a ProLine podcast, but
Right.
you don't need a big fancy CRM to start off with. You just need something basic to kind of keep everything organized. And then, you know, as things kind of start falling by the wayside, you know, then like really invest in a good CRM that's going to, you know, take things off of your plate. Um, if you have that, I mean, you're going to grow exponentially faster than you ever would have planned for.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we have a couple questions. Let's see here. What is one thing in the industry that has surprised you? And what is something you predict for 2026?
All right. Something that surprises me about this industry is just how there's so much drama involved. Like, and like I just try to remove myself from all of it. Like everybody's just out measuring how big their hammer is, and it's just like, guys, like, eh, and the funny thing is like, you know, we don't rely on the days of old where, you know, word of mouth was the thing that kept you alive. We don't rely on yellow pages in the phone book. I mean, end of the day, like I see a lot of like I'm gonna use Tim Brown for an example. Like it is absolutely genius what he is doing. Like he owns a marketing company and now he's starting a roofing company where a lot of us are actually working the exact opposite of that, where we start a roofing company and then we bring marketing in-house, right? And in today's climate, like you don't need to know how to install a roof or anything like that. Like you need to know how to get your name out there. And like that is one thing that I can foresee somebody like Tim like really capitalizing on is just making sure that, you know, everybody in the service areas that he's going to be servicing are going to know who Al Roofing is, you know,
Yeah.
that it's absolutely genius. So I think he's going to do a lot of big things, and a lot of people are going to really look at that and be like, dang, man, where, where am I missing, you know?
Yeah.
And then what was the second part to that question?
Just yeah, just what you predict for this coming year.
So I'm not a fortune teller. I don't have like any ball or anything like that, obviously. But I mean, I think 2026 is really going to be a year that is going to make or break a lot of companies and things. I don't foresee like any kind of like real growth as far as like where we were last year versus where we're going to end up this year. I would be completely happy with us just stabilizing and just maintaining where we kind of ended up. Um, but the reason why I'm kind of saying about like 2026 kind of making or breaking a lot of companies and things is like there's been some major shifts, especially on the technology front and like AI search. I mean, I'm sure that everybody's super tired of hearing, you know, about AI and things, but you know, I mean, 1 out of every 4 searches now are being done on AI. And if we're not kind of finding our place in that space, we're going to get left behind. So I'm really hoping and planning to kind of carve out my space in that AI realm and making sure that I'm going to be able to be found, whether it's the traditional Google search that we're all used to, or whether it be like an AI driven search. I want to be front and center on as many of those things as I possibly can. And for like all the good reasons too. Like not
Right, of course. You wanna be
what
known
roofer
for it.
shouldn't I hire?
Well, speaking of AI, we have another question from the audience. Let's see. With the popularity of AI and VAs, if you were to restart your roofing business with the knowledge you have now, how would you structure your team? Are there any roles you would eliminate or add?
So I have eliminated a number of different roles and things. Like number one, I mean, all of my after hours calls, anything that comes in after 8 p.m., that's going straight to my AI assistant. Like I don't want to be bothered after a certain time of day. I don't want anybody that works for me being bothered after a certain time of day. So I mean, we have implemented that, and I'm excited to kind of see how much that evolves over time. But as far as like the VAs that I have working for me, I don't have them actually in any kind of like real like customer facing role in which they're going to be talking to them. Electronic communication only, and primarily what I've been doing is like my VAs they post organic content for me on our social platforms, and they're out there, you know, posting several times a day on every single platform. They're creating content to post there. They're reposting videos. They're posting showcases. They're showing off some of our work. They're responding to messaging leads and things. And end of the day, like I don't need somebody like right here in my backyard to be able to do those sorts of things. I just need somebody with enough knowledge to know how we would respond to each of those things, and spelling out some SOPs, and giving them like an actual word track to use. As far as how we intake customers, it's all they really need for that sort of thing. But I mean, just being able to respond and post on social platforms and take care of marketing emails and like I absolutely hate email. And like that was one of the biggest things that I was able to unload from myself and pass on to them, and not having to look at like, a nutty email that came in that like I'm just gonna hit delete on anyway. Like
Makes your job so
do
much easier.
but I mean anything that you can take off of your plate and put onto somebody else that you absolutely do not like doing, you should 100% pass that over to a virtual assistant, um, every single time.
Yeah, that's a good valid point. Okay, here is another question about running a roofing business. What are the common challenges in roofing project management?
Well, one of the big things that we run into from time to time is, it's not so much the accuracy of the orders that we send, it's the accuracy in the orders that actually end up getting delivered. So we have two places that we end up checking and things, right? Aside from the moment that work order goes out to our suppliers and gets sent out. We also have a foreman on the crew verifying what was actually delivered. And then we also have a site supervisor verifying everything that was delivered. So we're ensuring that like the right drip edge color was ordered, the right hardware color was ordered. If there's a flat roof, like making sure that that actually coordinates with the color shingle that they actually ended up going with, or the color metal, or whatever kind of roof it is. We're just making sure that the right stuff was delivered, and beyond the actual right colors and things, the right quantities as well. I mean, it's crazy to think that like, our suppliers tell us all the time, "Oh, we triple check these orders before they even leave the lot." And then we get there and we were shorted this, or like, so just having that checks and balances system in place is like really the biggest thing that I don't think that we're ever really going to get away from, because human error is introduced, you know, at three different points throughout that. So
Yeah, it's a good point. We have another question from the audience here. Let's see
They're a lively bunch today.
yeah. As a roofer, what was a trust your gut moment that worked out? And was there a moment that didn't work out?
I can talk about a lot of them that didn't work out. But I'll go back to an earlier combo that I had with you in regard to like the best hire that I made. So, bringing on a site supervisor initially, like that was such a scary thing to, myself, my wife and things. And like, I felt sure about the person, but it was like the expense because a project supervisor, they're not going to be bringing income in, right? They are
Mhm.
gonna be a cost factor no matter how you dice it. Um, but the amount of time that bringing one on board ended up saving us and the headaches and things, and just knowing that, like, "Hey, we have that covered. We can be over here now taking care of this instead," right? Like, my wife literally, like, within 24 hours of bringing him on board in his first day, like, she was like, "Alright, you were right. This was good."
This
And
is a good
it
move.
immediately kinda, like, just took, like, such a huge weight off of my shoulders and that, like, "Oh, man, this is gonna work. We're gonna be good. We're gonna make it," you know?
Yeah.
But again, I mean, early on, I had so much hesitancy in regard to making big decisions like hiring and things before, and, sometimes, like, you need to cut your teeth a little bit before you really figure it out that like, hey, you know what? I can make a mistake or two from time to time and everything's gonna work out, everything's gonna be fine. So that was the biggest like trust your gut feeling that like actually ended up working out. The ones that don't end up working out, like knowing when to say no. And I know that this has been said so many times, but it's so true. And like so many people fall victim to it and like fall into the trap. But like everybody at some point throughout their career, they just get so desperate for business or like just want to like get a sale or something that they just agree to things or like they sign somebody up that they know like in their heart of heart, like they just really shouldn't and they should just walk away from like and typically like the the best the biggest examples of like people that are kind of like the hardest to work with are like attorneys,
Yeah.
engineers, people that say that they used to do roofing because
Can
like
imagine.
those are the people that like just sit out in the front yard or crawl up on the roof with the crew and they're like watching every little detail go on and some of them like you just cannot make happy no matter how hard you try and I've just learned that if your gut's telling you no you need to like jack up your margins and just price yourself out of the whole situation. So
Yeah, you gotta trust it. For sure, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, well then, here is a question again about running a roofing business. What safety equipment is mandatory for roofing crews?
So everybody kind of breaks the rules on this one.
Right. So I
Um,
guess in your opinion, what is mandatory?
so you definitely need to have a safety plan. Nobody plans on OSHA showing up or anything like that. You need to have one of those present with all your crews and things, right? And no matter how much I try, like, they should all be roped and harnessed off. And, it's so funny. Like, we use company cam like all the time. And, like, whenever you're on site, they'll be like roped and harnessed off. And then, like, you'll look after you take off from the site and then, like, you'll see, like, somebody over on another slope that doesn't have anything on and she said,
Mhm.
I was like, "Are you guys gonna pay the fine?" Like, but, you definitely need to make sure that, proper PPE is enforced at least as much as you're around, and, the moments that you can actually show them like, "Hey, like, I know what you're doing, like, you're taking that off, like, whenever I take off, you need to keep that on," it just leads to accountability and things, but making sure that, ladders 3 rungs up, just there's so many things that people can it's not a safe sort of job. Like, it's a very, very high risk job, like,
That's true. It's true. Definitely why you gotta take those precautions seriously.
for sure, but, I mean, again, if anybody says that their crews stay harnessed 100% of the time, they're
Right.
they're fibbing.
Hey, That's fair. That's fair. We have another question from the audience. Okay, so this is fun. Let's see what they have here. What is a hard lesson that you've learned about trying to balance being the owner of a roofing business, and then also balancing your personal life amidst that?
All right. So I take all this stuff very, very seriously. And like I say all the time, like I think I'm too dumb to fail sometimes, But I have a hard time with knowing when to shut it off. Like even whenever I was in Mexico last week, like I still found time to I completely reworked all of my speed delete automations and all my follow up automations and all that stuff. Like I just can't turn it off. But hard lesson I learned is like you need to be intentional about shutting it off and making time for those that want you to make time for them, right? And like aside from my better judgment, I did sign up to be a baseball assistant coach for my kid, just because like I love spending time with my kids and like
Yeah.
I'm intentional about like having date night with my wife like once a week. So just like I very much live off of my calendar, and I didn't let myself be intentional about carving out time to keep them in that, you know? And so I would just say like the hardest lesson that I learned is just learning to be intentional with spending time with those that, you should actually be wanting to spend time with.
Right. Absolutely. I think that's a good perspective about sometimes you have to make the time and whatnot. Okay, let's see. Got a couple more on this running a roofing business theme. How do I accurately price roofing jobs for maximum profit margin?
For maximum profit margin.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of that is like what you feel is a maximum profit margin is, it's going to differ from company to company and things, right? Like we run pretty lean, and that's intentional. Like one of the big things that I do to maximize our profit is I buy a lot of the standard items in bulk, like things like drip edge, things like the different types of nails that we use, branded underlayment, um, things that, I mean, it doesn't really matter what the brand is, as long as it's not going to break a warranty, or if the system that you're selling, doesn't really rely on a warranty or anything like that. Like the more that you can buy in bulk, even like those one-off items that you know, you're not going to be installing on every single job. Just buying them in bulk and keeping them in storage and getting a sizable discount on them for like the upgrade items, especially. Like one thing that we sell a lot of is solar attic fans. We buy, I bought 2 pallets of those in bulk, saved myself a significant amount of money. And then like our profit margins on those to begin with were, you know, really, really good. But then I didn't change the price in buying that from in bulk versus what I could go to a supplier and buy it for. So, I mean, I just really took my target margins and I just added on to it and things that way, without negating the quality of the roof or anything like that. Like that's one of the biggest things that I've done. So I would just say like look at your item lists that you're ordering like on every single job, and talk to people that can distribute that to you, and buy what you can in bulk. Like there's a lot of really, really good companies out there. Van Boxel is one that a lot of people use. Down here in Florida, we use A1. I'm direct. I mean, you can get branded underlayment through those guys for I think like $40 a roll. Like anywhere that you can cut some costs and allow yourself to maximize your profits, but also, give yourself some wiggle room in the event that like you're really close to winning a customer and maybe you can like charge your real price for it plus profit and get right where you need to be. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we've got two more questions from the audience. Okay. So let's see. We have here. What are some automations that you have seen success on? And what are some that maybe you have scrapped?
So I said that I just reworked all my automations and things, and
Mhm.
one automation that I had in place before I ever even like went and reworked all of them was a message from the owner. And so basically that's an email and a text that goes out to each and every customer after a certain set of time. And it just asks how their experience was with the sales rep that they met with. And it also, beyond feedback and things, it's also asking them like, "Hey, what can we kinda do to help you get across the finish line and move forward with us?" Right? Because end of the day, like that one automation alone has had the highest response rate of anything that I've implemented over here. And just because it prompts action. So I took what I learned from that and I kind of reworked all my existing automations to kind of reflect, that same sort of mentality that I had going into creating that automation. So that was the absolute best one that I've done, but I don't know if I've answered all that person's questions or not. Seen success on what have I scrapped? At at this point, I have scrapped every single one of them that I had out of the box.
Constantly reworking it to be
And like
better.
I would highly recommend that everybody do the same because end of the day, like a generic automation is great when there's nothing else to kind of compare it to. But ones that actually truly speak to your brand or the product offerings that you have or some of the unique features of your company, like the more that you can kind of cater your messaging around those things, the more responses you're going to get from them, the better they're all going to work for you and things. So the ones that are like straight out of the box are great, especially to get you rolling. But the real magic happens when I mean, one little trick that you guys can all kind of look at is, like whenever you text somebody, sometimes you think of something else that you forgot to tell them in that original text, right? So sending one text out and then sending another one right thereafter, like that looks authentic and it looks real and it looks like it was actually sent by you.
Mm,
So, I mean, they're just little things that you can kind of like do to kind of look authentic,
it's a good
like it's
point.
really coming from you, you know?
True. Okay, we have 2 questions from the audience, so everyone is very active today. Let's see.
This is incredible since I'm back with phone.
Okay, let's see. Here's one. Okay, so these are both somewhat related to ProLine and your experience using ProLine. How detailed are you on your stages in ProLine? They're talking about they have a lot of stages and they're wondering how to keep it simple. Do you automate a lot of tasks? So, just talking about stages and automations.
So, some of the stages that I guess I'll answer it this way. So, there is a stage that I don't use at all. There's only one stage that I don't use at all, and that's create quote. And the reason why I don't use that one, I can't say I never use it, but I rarely use it, is because the create quote pipeline, like we're delivering estimates while we're actually out there to do the inspection. So we give them same day and we're sitting down at the kitchen table with everybody the day that we're out there. So it's not really something that we really utilize a lot. The only times that we really ever do use it is when we need to custom quote like a special order material or something like a clay tile or like a flute fill to go on a metal roof with TPO over it or, something that we don't have like updated pricing on that we do need to get like takeout pricing on for. But other than that, like I haven't touched any of the actual names of like all the different stages in the job board or anything like that. Just because, I mean, ProLine was actually built by a roofer and the stages that came out of the box are literally the stages that we actually need in addition to, the review and referral requests and things that happen after a job's paid and closed, like, that I don't think any of those really need to be reworked or retold. And maybe a lot of people that, are listening, like they do use the create quote because they aren't sending quotes out the day that they're actually there. Um, and if that's the case, I mean, keep them excited until they get that quote,
Yeah.
rework those automations to actually keep them tuned in, like keep them leaning in,
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we have one more question from the audience, and then after that, I think we'll wrap unless there's more from the audience. So please, if anyone has anything, feel free to drop it in the Q&A. Okay, what is one thing you would ask ProLine to add that isn't currently available? No?
A AJ would be banging,
Mad.
but anyway.
Okay, then we won't do that one. That's
No, no, no,
maybe we can
we
rephrase
can
it.
touch on it.
Maybe we can rework it. Maybe like what's
No,
an
I mean,
avenue you think it would be useful to explore a little bit more?
so end of the day, I think that, out of the box, like ProLine is so like robust and built out and feature minded in such a way that like there's a lot that they got right, like right out the gate, and like there's things that like, come up and like, man, why the heck can I do this? And like I have ideas like all the time and like I swear I've probably submitted more ideas than like 99% of the people that actually use the platform. But a lot of the ideas that I submit, they're really just in regard to like fit and finish more so than anything else. Like one thing that I would love is like if I'm looking at it right now, like I think it would be awesome to actually get like job check-ins that are GPS based, right? So as one of my field techs goes out and does a repair, I'd love to know that like, hey, all right, my field tech got there. He's already working on it. Great. I can keep the customer up to date and just, or like if I have a call in that I actually need to add this one to the idea board, but we get inbound calls and things for people that want their roof replaced all the time. And right now, like one thing that I would say I would love to see changed, like first and foremost, that would help my office staff more so than anything else is just having like an overall like resource availability. And what I mean by that is like, let's say rep A, B, and C, like this customer is requesting sometime between like 10 and 12 on Tuesday. I should be able to see who all is available between 10 and 12 on Tuesday instead of having
I see
to
what
click
you mean.
on like rep A, rep B, rep C. And like, okay, well, I can get, if we just had an overall like view of availability across the board, like that would be huge. Yeah. Thank you for the reminder. I'm gonna go submit.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
AJ is gonna love me after this.
Well, that is our last question for the day. Thank you so much for joining us, especially after your vacation. And thank you everyone who asked a question. It was a very active audience today, so that was pretty fun.
I
So
thought
yeah, and
Carney and I were gonna go get to
I know go back and
each
forth.
other and stuff, but Carney was actually down in Dominican Republic where I was last year.
Oh yeah.
And they sent us to Mexico this year. Anyway, we didn't get to meet up. So
Well, hopefully it was fun regardless.
it was
And yes, we will see you guys next week, and then Allie should be back as your host. So, all right, everyone, have a good Monday.